them. And in fact, it's not particularly well organized either. And that's because we work to the last moment. I always think it's better to actually get going or keep going as the information comes in rather than sort of wrap it all up. And so there's no wrapping to this. It's literally off the tables. I've looked at it once. Our project manager, Scott Ball, put it together. It's his notion of what the order should be. And so I will, I'll be sometimes as surprised as you. Why is this next to that? But I think there are a couple of preliminaries. Elizabeth was right. We did begin with the most general context of what happened to American downtowns and why they declined. Beautiful places, what happened to them, government policy, cultural changes, a whole series of misunderstandings. And the sad lesson is that we demolished many of our cities and many parts of our cities. But, and it's very sad that this happened here. But one of the good lessons to take from it is that the reason you demolish yourself is because you are doers. You know, when the best idea was to self-immolate, you did it. You went to Washington, got the money, and did it. While other sort of retard cities like Charleston and Savannah didn't. They couldn't get their act together. And I want to be very frank about this because this is one of the cities that in fact has been going and rolling with the evolution of planning ideas. After the Second World War, there were well, some of you actually witnessed this. I know that the ascendancy of the suburb, the contempt for the city, all that kind of thing, some of you have lived. It's now reversed. And the younger people love cities. The older people need cities because they need to walk to their daily needs. The environment all points to city living more and more. In the future, and in some places already in the present, if you don't have an urban fabric like the one you're privileged to have, which Mobile is privileged to have, you haven't got a future because you can't recruit. Okay? You cannot, to get people to come, you need a kind of downtown like this one. One of the most impressive things about my time here in Mobile, because I don't expect it, is the support that we receive from the mayor. And what we have found in other places, the downtown is a tiny percentage of your city in terms of its area. It's also a tiny percentage of its population. And when there are limited means, the mayors find it very difficult to invest in the city because that's not where the votes are. And if nothing else, things should be distributed all around. And the mayors, in fact, cannot, except at risk to their own position, emphasize the city, the downtown. It just doesn't work out. People say, what about my sidewalks? What about my lights? What about my parking problem? What about my flooding problems? What about my permitting? What about all that? And the mayors say, okay, I've got to do it equally. But this mayor understands, and actually and the councilman as well, but of course the councilman represents this area, that a city has standing only insofar as its downtown is successful. You know, after all, Detroit, which has a horrible reputation, has wonderful suburbs. You know, but when the core is hollow, the reputation of the place is down. Providence, which has a tremendous reputation, tremendous among young people, they can recruit anybody they want, has horrible weather, doesn't have a waterfront. It has very little going for it except sort of nice trees. But the downtown works. The downtown works. And I've been to Providence a lot, I mean to Portland, Oregon. The nicest part of their nicest downtown, which I know very well, is not as good as this very fine street system you have. So you have a tremendous future here, these wonderful narrow streets. The other thing that you have is that you have been doing, and this might be disappointing because people expect a kind of miracle from us. In the 7 years that the Downtown Alliance has been here, this is a constant theme with me. So many of the things we normally find need to be recommended are already implemented or on the way. I mean, I've never been to a place where you have already done more before we got here. It's quite amazing, and congratulations. And then, and by the way, I can show you, part of it is just, the way the street, and I'm going to make I wish I could just sit here and actually list the things, list the 20 things that are being well done. I can't, it would take the evening, but, I could. And it might surprise you, because you're assuming that it's normal. But you do have an enormous number of things. And then there's something that our team was just astonished by. And you certainly don't notice because you are among them, which is the people are so nice, just so incredibly nice. And we named this plan, and I'm going to give you the anecdote as to what the name of this plan is. In the morning, I park my car because I have to bring a lot of coffee here. I have to bring gallons of coffee, so I park my car in front of the Battle House. And 2 days ago, I parked illegally on the what's called the elephant here, when the sidewalk comes out. And the parking attendant at 7 o'clock in the morning ambles up, amiably, terrific, and says, if I could help you, he says, well, that's illegal, and but I'll help you. If you give me the key, I'll take care of it. He was going to sort of, if the cops came, he would, instead of shoving me off and all this stuff, he wanted to help me. And I said, you do know that I'm not buying coffee from you. And he says, oh, yes. And then I said, you're all so nice here. You're so nice. And you know what he said? He stood like this and said, keeping it easy. Keeping it easy. Just keeping it easy for you. Just making this little bit that made my morning a little easier, that allowed me to get the coffee a little easier, that made me feel about the place. This whole thing about keeping it easy. And in the end, the theme of everything we're doing here is keeping it easy. Could we just get on with refurbishing this downtown? Not with big moves, one person at a time. Just could we just be allowed to live, to do a good job, to bicycle, to take initiative, because we've actually been doing a very nice job, and it's not about a big moves. So this is the Keeping It Easy plan. Let's see whether you like it. Everybody has so far, but we'll see. It's not a very technical name. Okay, what our plan is going to look like. This is just a list we made for you. Very easily, we got together from what we had learned. Now, these are the things that you've done. Easy and not so easy, and sometimes absolutely amazingly unique that you've done to move things forward. And this is the kind of thing that I could go through, and particularly with my team, we could go through and list for you these so many good ideas that are on the way. So let's start with that. Now, for some reason, our contract says that we have to talk about the evolution of the city. So we did that, and I read a bit about Mobile. And there's a tendency to harp on the good old days. And the good old days is probably has something, and I've read deeply on this, and there are two things that I reminded you. I'm not sure this is a particularly good spot for a city. Your competitor, which I believe was called Berkeley or Barclay, knocked you out almost immediately, and Mobile probably wouldn't be here if they hadn't gotten yellow fever instead of you. But your competitor, Barclay, was wiped out. What is it? Blakely? Blakely was wiped out, and Mobile grew. I think the one thing to take from it, when I look at the statistics about what happened when, and you look at the dates, it grew amazingly quickly. It grew quickly, and it grew of great quality. And one of the abiding mysteries, and Peter Swift and I were discussing it the other day, why is it so hard to get anything done? Why does it take so long when it used to be so easy? And furthermore, why was the quality pretty dependably high all over America in the 19th century? After all, we took millions of immigrants that didn't have a penny when they arrived, and we colonized the entire continent and created enough wealth to build the cultural institutions. No